Welcome to the Rocks and Oceans podcast, where you'll learn all about living in healthy masculine and feminine balance. We're your hosts, Jamel Harris and Alex Golden. Have we made all the relationship mistakes before? So you don't have to.
Fun, connection, abundance, and a whole lot of sexy time will become your daily reality when you choose to step into an aligned way of knowing yourself. No worries if you feel salty and cynical from heartbreak. That's often the most powerful starting point for transformation. Welcome, and we're about to have so much fun together.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast.
Good to see you guys. Feel like we've been gone for a while. About
We just
4
took the weekend off, but yeah.
Is that what it was? We got used to doing them every day, and I felt like we missed it.
I know, right? We like talking to y'all.
All right. So, guys, we have got some feedback from the podcast, and we appreciate it. And we want you guys to keep that coming. You can put it in the show notes. You can email us. We'll talk about that at the end. But one of the requests we received was, what is the masculine? What is the feminine?
Yeah, like what does that actually look like if you haven't ever been taught these kind of concepts, or you don't come from that kind of culture or community, or even, you know, like we didn't or Jay didn't per se, but then from life you were then encouraged to be interested in it, and you did a lot of research and reading and studying and all sorts of stuff and trying it out for real. And so, you know, it is totally understandable where if you haven't had any one of those things, you might have the question of like, well, I know what society tells me a masculine is and does for the world and his family and stuff, but what is it actually?
Yeah.
So that's something we'd like to answer today.
For sure. And I'll just kind of back up because you didn't listen to the other episodes about our story. But I grew up, I was raised by my grandmother. So my dad was not around. My mom and dad were never together. And so I was raised by my mom. But when we were younger, she obviously needed to make more money. So she moved to Dallas, and we were raised in our town, Terrell, with my grandmother. And so I saw... pretty much, I was raised by women. It was my mom, my grandmother, my neighbors. It was pretty much women all around me growing up. And so that's a good thing. I mean, obviously, you'd be raised by some people that know people. But the challenge with being raised by women is they can't teach you how to be a man. Right. And what happens a lot of times is guys are raised by single moms, and sometimes that mom is raising that kid not to be like his dad, if
right.
that makes sense. And so she's raising him to be a nice guy. You do whatever it is. You know, you just be really, really nice. Whatever your wife or girlfriend needs, you give it to her. And what happens is you end up raising a nice guy that doesn't really have boundaries, and he's just catering to his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And over time, you'll lose attraction just because. Yes. Go ahead, you can speak on that.
Totally. I think, and this isn't, we're not even really speaking from our opinion. There's been lots of research looked at kind of what was the progression from World War II and a lot of the men being involved in that aspect. And then that left the homes manned by the mom, right? And so what Jay's describing is really a phenomenon that happened across the world. Really, not just in the U.S., but of course in the U.S. we, took it a certain way. Yeah. And so that's what happened is essentially it opened up, because I think a lot of people will make the case, especially women online, it will be like, well, yeah, but they were only, we're talking about single moms. It's actually the men are leaving pregnant women, and that's the problem. Cool, but we have to remember that historically it didn't necessarily start out from an unwillingness of men. So that, focusing on that is an issue, absolutely, but it's not necessarily the heart of what we're talking about now. Like, you can come to it many ways and still end up creating a scenario where, a feminine raising a masculine will have a different effect than a masculine raising a masculine. And I think that's part of what we're talking about today in the roles is there's the actual roles that we see the masculine and the feminine play. The issue that makes it a little more muddy and sticky at this point is that we also have to unlearn and undo some of the negative programming that is taking place. And I think that's where the sticking points are, like why people want to argue about this stuff instead of really just talking about the topic. And we do want to, whenever we get into these more like traditional gender roles discussion, I think it's easy to hear it as like, this is what men have to be like, this is what women have to be like. And so women for a long time have been like, well, maybe I want to ride a motorcycle, maybe I want to shoot guns, like maybe I like, XYZ. And then sometimes the men have been like, well, but I want to go take a dance class. So that's not the flavor of what we're talking about. Like, any human can partake in any sort of activity that they think is fun. What we're talking about is like when a couple has agreed to live under a masculine and feminine framework, what does that actually look like executed? So one of the main things for anyone listening is you might listen and then say, hey, that's not how I want to do it. I want to do the kind of the equality path, and that's totally cool. But what we're going to describe and hone in on is like talking to the people that want to discover it and like what they're seeing and kind of want to partake in it. So that's the main thing to discover, right? This is not the return of like, oh, boys can't like play with a doll, or that's not the flavor of what we're talking about. And part of what we're talking about today of what the masculine role is that we see currently has changed, like the providing protection, all that kind of stuff. So you want to dig into what you think make up masculine roles?
I will do that. For a lot of guys growing up, we think masculinity is providing. Like, it's to go make the money, it's to do this, make sure the house is taken care of. And that's all true. But in the environment that we're in, women make money too.
Yes.
And so I think it was 1974, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, like you mentioned, like when it was World War II and Vietnam, and the women couldn't have bank accounts.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy.
Even if they wanted to leave, they really couldn't because they didn't have money. But when you passed the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, I think it was 74, that allowed women to get bank accounts. It allowed them to have access to credit cards. It allowed them to have access to mortgage. And there was another mass exodus of people leaving relationships because the woman's like, I don't have to stay here anymore. I don't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And
you grew up
they had to deal with it because they couldn't, stand on their own.
Totally, like you grew up in an environment where it was known like someone could have multiple families in the city or a block or whatever, and it was just like, yeah, well, there's Susie down the street. Like, it was just, everyone was just
take care of my house, I'm cool.
Exactly.
It's kind of the mindset that I heard growing up.
And when you have absolutely nowhere else to go, of course you're going to come up with a coping mechanism that works. Because, I mean, in any sort of, even let's take it to the extreme of abuse, which I'm not saying it was, because, I mean, it's not great, but we all agreed that that was cool at the time. At least in that way, like, you got to deal with it somehow. So creating an empowering story, I think, it's a handy piece of it. But I think when then the men grew up going, well, the women were okay with that. So, I mean, I'm way better for my wife. Why is she still tripping? I think that's where it creates the problems, because it's like, well, no one's really saying that it has to be the same. But assuming that the women did it electively is a little dangerous because it was just straight not legal.
Yeah, for sure. And if we fast forward to today, talking about providing, it's not the same.
Right.
Meaning back then they couldn't, they went to college, but even today the pay is not equal. If we can just be honest, male and female pay is not equal, but there are a lot of women that make a lot of money. I mean, you're obviously an anesthesiologist by trade, so there's women that are accountants, they're CEOs, they're presidents, they're vice presidents of bank. So women are in power positions. And what that also means is they can be providers. So the world we're in now... Financially, correct. The world we're in now is not necessarily like it was back in the day, whereas the man goes and works and the wife stays home. She's a homemaker. Now it could be 50-50. There's a lot of stay-at-home dads. And so, again, depending on how you define your relationship, that's up to you. We're just wanting to specify what those roles look like. And so...
Right, exactly. Because we're talking about the masculine energy, the feminine energy. And so, for example, when there have been time, let's say now ours changes on any given month, right? But, with business stuff. But let's say on the months that I would bring in more than you, our energy dynamics do not change. Right. So where we have to do the work, I think, as a society is disconnecting like the purely practical on the surface level of like, do I provide money? Because just like in the month that I do, our relationship doesn't just like awkwardly flip and now I make all the calls or something like that.
And I think that comes from doing work on yourself as the guy, because you can feel some type of way because of societal programming. Like our societal programming says the guy's supposed to make the money. He's supposed to work outside the home. The woman's supposed to be a homemaker. But again, that's not the way it is anymore. I mean, you're a doctor. You're a whole doctor. Yeah, so right. We have to redefine what it looks like, because the family unit doesn't look like it used to look. Back in the day, the mom stayed home, the dad went to work, raised the kids. Well, today both parents go to work. And so how do we define this masculine and feminine role inside of our house, being that both of us work outside the home? And so hopefully we can do a good job of trying to describe what that looks like today. So,
and you might be a stay-at-home mom, like as in you don't have to work outside of the home. But I mean, there's so many times in my life where I've been at home working my business and making money, where like the MD stuff doesn't even come into play. Like that's not where the money's coming from, and it's still good. So I think it's true. It's true if I flipped every time and I changed my thinking on, well, I brought in the money, therefore I get to act like XYZ, it does inherently break the system. Like, because back in the day, it was like you are being provided for, in terms of survivability. And nowadays, you can still have it that way, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Like, actually, and I don't think there's anything wrong with, there's a lot of talk on the internet of how dangerous it is to be a stay-at-home mom. Right, like in divorces where they've been out of the workforce, and like there's no retirement savings and things like that. It's a fair enough point, right? Like you have to be cautious on being dependent on it just in life, like thinking through it. But more than likely, that's not what things are like now. Even the people that choose to be a stay-at-home mom are still well-educated. They can return back to a career, even if it is a little like people are like, well, it'd be hard to get in. Yeah, but like people hire people all the time because they can tell. I mean, there's so many women in the workforce that are like, if you can run a whole family, you can run this portion of the business, like you're good, I'll hire you. So it's really not even that hard to go back. So I think that's where the attitude is, I don't really need you, right? From that standpoint, I think that's what's a little threatening to the masculines.
I agree. And we have to understand who we are, first of all. You know what I mean? Like understanding who you are as a man. Just because your partner makes more money than you or vice versa, that doesn't make you any less of a person. That's where the work comes in. Like you working on yourself, you're not feeling some type of way about it.
I think the rest of the list sort of makes it make sense because there's so much other stuff to do than providing money.
Absolutely. And one of the things, if you guys notice, it's not a competition. I feel like a lot of times they're in competition. Like, well, I make more money than you, and dude, we partners. Ain't no,
like, who cares?
We don't even look at stuff like that. You know what I mean? So if you're tit for tatting, doing accounting on your partner, stop it.
Yeah.
You know
That's true. That's true. Yes, I think the attention has to be taken off the financial providing if that's the case, because making the argument for I provided the money, therefore you make all the other calls isn't what we're talking about, because it's the I am providing leadership is I think how I see the masculine role.
I agree with that. And the reality is everybody, not some of us, all of us are going to have a tough time. So we can't look at just the money. So I may lose a job or you may lose a job. Who cares? We're still partners. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't make me any less than or any more than. And I think sometimes when that happens, especially as a masculine, we may lose our job or our business not going right. We feel some type of way or we feel less than. Well, that's not necessarily true. You're still the leader in the home. So it's up to you not to step back just because something happened. Just because life happens doesn't mean you're no longer masculine. You know
it's
what I'm
so
saying?
true. A lot of the stuff that people bitch on the internet about gets solved by this. People are like, I don't want to go 50-50 with a man. Awesome. Find one that it's 1 out of 5 men and women that make over $100,000. It is not hard to find. If that's your goal, like, go find that. So it's there's a lot of opportunity out there to really see this in action on when all the rest of it, like it's, and we'll go into what that is, but all the other things that you provide for me, because they stay there the rest of the time, it really helps just keep the relationship stable. And so no matter what's happening, like I see a lot of women saying, oh, I don't want to date a provider, or if a guy's down, I don't want to help him. That's cool. But like, if you find someone making the 6 figures and then he hits a hard stretch, what are you going to do, right? Is it your identity to get a new man every time they're down? Because if the answer is no, then that kind of thinking is a little dicey. Like, I love me some Shira for some entertainment and things. But like the spirit of it, yes, of course, if you want a provider man and then you find one and they are with that, cool. I love that. But it's the thinking where someone hasn't actually consented to that. If the guy's not like, yeah, forever, I got us and nothing will ever happen. Like, if you didn't get that, then having that kind of expectation, it's hard for me to make a case for it being very loving.
I agree with that. Because we're partners. That's that's your vows for like, better or for worse, for richer or for poor.
Right. It's like if a woman gets fat, it's like, oh, I'm going to leave you. That shouldn't be the case either. There shouldn't, I had a kid and I have cellulite and, now you don't love me. Like, same thing on the table. Like, neither party wants to be like that. Right.
And on this topic, we'll say it throughout all our episodes, it's about communication. Mm-hmm. On the providing, it's about the communication. For instance, all of us have ebbs and flows in our business and our jobs, or we had a sick kid for a long time. That affected my business just because I couldn't work. And so there's times when you're going to be up. There's times when you're going to be down. The thing is we're number one, we're committed. But number two, we're going to communicate about it. Yeah. And part of the masculine in the providing is communication. Like if you're down, just say you're down. Because this is the thing, fellas. Your girl know you down.
I know, right? We can feel you guys.
You can feel our energy, and that's something that I've learned over the years. Is like they can feel when we're down or when our business is not right, when we're acting a certain type of way, like we're not as happy as we are, we're not as jovial and joking. They can tell. Yeah. So what happens a lot of times is societally we've been told, don't tell her that, keep that to yourself, and you're suffering by yourself. And I was on a call with a guy today, and this is free for y'all, but it came out. It was really good, but we were talking about, like, when you're down, that's an opportunity for the feminine to love on you. Yeah. Right?
Because one of the things, I'm kind of cutting to the next topic, which was the feminine and nurturing's underneath there. If we have no spot to do that in, it's really tough for us.
Yeah. So I was telling a guy a story today. This literally happened last night. My back was hurting, and I didn't know why. And it was hurting all day. And obviously, you're a pain doctor. Literally, she's a pain doctor.
This man walked around our whole damn house just suffering, just like all day long. Didn't even know.
You know, we got to communicate, fellas. So, but I didn't think anything of it because she was busy. I was busy. My back was hurting, but I didn't think to stop her from her meetings to, work on my back. So we got to the end of the day and I was like, man, my back is hurting. And you're like, babe, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, man, you were busy, blah, 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 blah. And you were like, babe, I want to know that. And I was like, I know. So what I'm describing, guys, is I was not allowing you to be feminine and nurture me and love on me. And so what I did was I recognized it and I was like, okay, babe, put this stuff on my back. You went and got me an ice pack. You gave me my little drug
combo.
Yeah, my little drug combo. She had all my medicine.
It's called multimodal anesthesia.
Yeah, what she said. So, but what it did was it allowed her to step into her feminine and take care of her man, and it allowed me to receive the feminine energy. And so when that happens, it's a beautiful thing for both people because she gets to be who she is, and then I get to experience the love that she has for me. But I easily could have took that away from her. And this is what I mean. I could have just, my back is hurting, and she could have said, hey, let me help you or whatever. Oh, I got it. I'm going to just go take my own drugs. I'm going to go get my own heat pack. But
he's talking about like ibuprofen when he's talking about drugs, by the way. He's never really taken medications.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I don't like medicine, y'all. I know, right? Holistic. It's hard to, And she's a doctor, obviously, so she's a little bit different. But she understands that stuff, so I trust you. But by me allowing you to do that last night, I felt like it was a good evening. Like we both were stressed out yesterday. I just that moment allowed both of us to relax.
It's so true because we were stressed out over more practical things and like business and stuff, which is really both of us being more masculine. Now I am working on staying in my feminine energy even in the work, but as you and I have kind of talked about off air, is like there are some activities in business that are more masculine energy. I totally hear all the people being like, you can lead from a feminine energy. I totally agree. But can you do everything and it counts as feminine? I think it's actually a little less black and white than that, right? And so I was more, so it totally, and this is where it relates back to providing. You were providing thought leadership for our family. And this is what I mean by that. I have a special set of skills. I have a certain set of skills as a doctor, and also I have the feminine energy, right? And so for you to, in that moment, know that you're not feeling great and you could use some help, it takes you recognizing in me that I'm capable to allow that to happen, right? So you are literally providing the environment for me to then bring back and return to the feminine. So that's why last night I got to go from stressed out and more in my masculine to just falling right back into it because my attention and my focus was then on a very clearly feminine thing, right? And so that's what we mean by that revolves nothing about money or involves anything about how much you make or anything, right? Like if you can stay in the leadership providing category and you're like providing opportunities where they shine, of providing opportunities of exploration, of fun, of connection, you don't even have to know how she can do it. Like the feminine is more of the connecting energy and that force. So you might open it up to, hey, can you put together something like something for us to do this evening? And then most feminines I know are like, ooh, that's fun. Like it's a theme thing. Let me like figure out how I want to execute on it. We'll get to work. So that's what we mean by providing. Like he wasn't just, I think it's a complete fallacy to be like, I was in a vulnerable position and I asked for your help. That's not exactly what's happening. That's like how I see the kids asking for me to help them with their, if they're like belly hurts or something. Mm-hmm. But in your case, that doesn't even necessarily translate because you're not my kid. I'm recognizing that you allow me the space to nurture you, and I do, and I honor it.
And fellas, that don't mean you come to her every time you got a little hurt toe. Oh, my little toe is hurting, like the kids. Because I've heard women say, My husband is like a third kid.
Yes.
And so I'm very careful with the things I take to her. Some stuff I can handle on my own, but again, she's a pain doctor. The pain stuff I need to bring to her because what that does, that the not communicating that to her, it makes her feel some type of way. She's like, I have this special skill set and I could patch you up really quick, but I'm not giving her that opportunity. And as a masculine, that's our presence, recognizing, like being in the moment. I recognize, wait a minute, let her love on me. Let me let her give me these drugs because that's what all you ladies, you want to take care of your man as long as you like him, right?
Yeah, as long as we like him.
You don't like him, get a new man or y'all work it out. Keep
Right,
listening to the podcast. But you know what I mean? But most women, they want to take care of their man. If his back is hurting, you want to rub his back. I mean, we want a back rub, but we've been taught so many times, I'm fine. Right. Meanwhile, your back is hurting like hell. And you're like, I'm fine. And so, fellas, it's an opportunity when you do have something serious going on to allow the feminine to love on you, which will, in turn, recharge your masculine energy.
It is so true. It's so true. And I think men a lot of times, they're like, what if I go too much or what if it's not enough? And, I have to be vulnerable. And I think you can try this out in many areas. It doesn't have to be with the physical body, but just like, for example, if you are feeling insecure about something, the opportunity for us to nurture a vulnerability and to say, that may be a limitation in you, and I see that, and I am still here for it, and I still love you. That's a hugely healing thing for anybody to get. But the feminine is uniquely positioned to be convincing. Like we really there's a lot of that potential there, and so not bringing vulnerable or times where you are maybe in a season of uncertainty or whatever, if you have a true partnership, I actually think it's more damaging to keep this stuff away. Like, as long as you're paying attention and you're present in the interactions, if you're not starting to weigh on her emotionally and mentally in a way where she can no longer fall to your providing and protection and things, now that's where it tips into a problem. But everything on the other side of that line is actually, I think, just really, really positive. Because the times where you've been like, man, I'm really struggling with this, I feel like it does a couple things. You role model for me when I'm having a hard time. I come to you because you came to me. You're setting the tone and that, providing the thought leadership in our relationship. So if you come to me, then I come to you. If you're not coming to me, then I inherently feel like the problem all the time. I have all these problems. I'm coming to him. I'm just a burden. I will eventually stop. Right?
You said something, because as guys, we don't quote unquote ever have a problem.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's fine though.
I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know, but everything can be going to hell in a handbasket, and we will literally walk in and lie, and you'll say, "What's wrong?" We're like, "I'm okay." That's bullshit.
Exactly. And then you'll be like, well, my girl doesn't tell me certain things or whatever. Or my girl says it's fine. Well, if you do that, then she's following your lead.
Absolutely.
So, if you want it different, you have to first stop and role model something different. That's providing the role modeling of, what you want. If you want good communication, you're like, oh, I can't talk to her about my feelings. She always judges me. Where are you doing that? Because the leadership needs to be very clear. If that isn't coming from you, the leadership has to say, hey, this isn't the environment. You might have learned that from your dad, but this is not what we're doing in this environment, right? That's what that leadership looks like. But just to say, I don't talk to her because she mishandles my emotions, well, then she's the leader. You're literally catering to what her actions are, and they determine yours. You're not the leader of that house or that relationship.
I didn't like the way you handled what I told you before. Can we handle it this way next time? It's just everything we're going to talk about in this podcast is about communication. And I can say in my previous relationships, I was not I wasn't a communicator at all. Wasn't nothing wrong with me. Everything was fine. It was Pollyanna, rose-colored glasses. And that's not going to fly in the new world to me, because
It's not.
again, we're in an energy world now, and your woman feels the energy just like fellas, you feel her energy. When she's off, you can feel it. And,
Right.
And part of the masculine is addressing that, like, hey, baby, what's up? We're off, but we're kind of off too. We got more topics to talk about, and we only been on one.
I know, right? We're like all about the providing, but I mean, I do think the rest of our list comes down to you're providing, but just of what? It's like if you just stop at I'm providing money, that's where we will make the argument. Just expand past that, right? What other areas of life do you both have? You're providing in every single one of those categories. The leadership. Now we'll talk about the feminine, how that, but I think it helps to place that providing where it should be, up at the top. Because when we talk about providing like ideas for self-development, one of the things that I know that you provide is like advice for me. And so it's not like, because you see me from the outside. So sometimes I will come to you and be like, hey, I'm running into this problem. Where are my blind spots on this? Right? Where am I getting stuck? Where might I be engaging in a behavior that's not serving me, right? And you tell me. Now, I think it takes a lot more courage for you to say than for me to ask, because I could then kind of mishandle it and be like, oh, I can't believe you said that. But I think I can also honestly say I haven't liked consciously every single thing that you have said, and we've gone back and forth on it. And generally speaking, it has every time panned out that you were right, because it's the same thing in the feminine coming to the masculine. Like that other person, if they've been with you and they're with you a lot and you've been together for a long time, they know your ass. Right. So like not listening to them and I'm not saying you have to like not think ever again and just be like, yep, I believe you. But I mean, man, they probably have a point. Like 90% of the time, I'd say the person probably's got a point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Now let's talk about maybe big decisions, because like people are like, well, yeah, I mean, maybe like planning a date, but like what about for big things in life?
For big things, obviously, if it's a big thing, we both discuss it.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, I should back up. For decision making, for like providing the thought leadership, sometimes people are like, it's actually a decision, and sometimes it's a big decision. So yeah, sorry, I forgot to say that part.
Yeah. But one of the things we do is we talk about everything. I mean, most of the time I'm going to make the decision, and I don't mean that in a negative ways. That's my job, is to help make decisions. Mm-hmm. This is why we got to make decisions, fellas. The more decisions you have her making throughout the day, she's spent by the end of the day. Like we talked about, you having a business, she's doing just as much as you. Today, the women are working just as much as we are. So it's not like, even the women that stay home. I saw statistics say if you paid your stay-at-home wife, it would cost about $250,000. So yes. I used to make the mistake, she just staying home. She don't do that. That's not true. She doing laundry. She doing dishes. She's preparing meals. She's
if you had to pay for all those things, it would cost you a decent amount. Yep.
Making sure things get fixed in the house. And so they're doing a lot. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, I think you were going for the decision making. Here's why we need it. We're spent at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're spent at the end of the day. So she's at her running her business, making decisions, doing calls, just like me. We're both doing the same. Mm-hmm. Where I come in, and to me, this is this new world, guys. We're like we said, the man making the money, making the decision. We're past that. Women are making money. So what she needs in this day and time, to me, is your consciousness and your presence. Like, can you be present and help her make decisions? Mm-hmm. And so when we're talking about a big decision, we talk about it, we go back and forth. And it's not like every time we go with what I decide either. There's times where you have valid points too. I'm like, all right, maybe that makes sense. Let's just do that. But for the most part, if we're on that 49, if we're in a tie, I'm the tie breaking vote.
Exactly. I think it's easy for people to hear that, and you make decisions as in I get 0% and you get 100%. But it's really, the way we see it, is 49-51, because you're right. You might have. I think what happens, if I really break it down, you generally come to me already having a solid idea where you want to take us. So you've already taken on that providing leadership role, and, have stepped into it. And then with my 49%, that's where I'm listening to what's going on. And I mean, what's ironic about that is usually it's the feminine bringing the things to awareness, then the masculine digests. But as the masculine comes back with, here's what the decision we have to make. Are we going to move here? Are we going to live in this house? Are the kids going to go to these schools, right? You come to me with an idea already. Like, I don't get the sense that you're coming to me like a kid or anything like that, where you're like, oh, tell me what to do. It's just, I think that changes your energy to come to me in that masculine role, first of all. And then for me, I think where I quote, change your mind, it might, yeah, it's true. We might have that 49% I spent asking questions, understanding, and then I might bring up concerns. And then it's always your call on considering what we brought up together. You might switch to my side, but to me, it's always the 51% starts and stops with you at the end of the day. And the reason that I think we're less drained from, we talked about like how that happens in terms of energy expenditure, but I think what you guys get that you benefit from, like the happy feminine that wants to nurture and love on you and like have sex and do all, all that stuff that you enjoy, is not having the responsibility fall back on your shoulders, right? The risk of running the feminine at 51% means that she's the one waking up at 3 a.m. going, I'm not sure that, Johnny is happy in this city that we moved to that I decided. And like the feminine, with our ability to multitask and that, we can really worry and really get into a lot of fear and anxiety and all this stuff of the decisions. And that's why the energy was created. We believe that the masculine holds... The masculine energy holds the weight of the responsibility more naturally, I guess, to them. It's not the fact that women aren't smart enough to make the decisions. It's everything that happens after.
Yeah. Right? And as you were talking, I was thinking, what can we say that's practical? Because I know people hear us talking, and I think we just do it.
Yeah.
But, for example, like in the evening time, we may both work all day. Mm-hmm. But then once we get done, let's say it's 7:30, we may run to the grocery store. You may say, what do you want for dinner?
Yes.
Well, a typical guy response is, I don't know. What do you want?
What do you want?
Well, in that moment, something practical you can do. Hey, let's get some chicken breast. Let's get some green beans. Let's get some sweet potatoes. She's cool with that because you just took that decision away from her.
Yes, and then when the kids are like, I don't want chicken breast. Right? There's such a more powerful thing to be like, Dad said chicken breast.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I want some chicken. Like, that's what we eating. Like,
right. I'm not gonna listen or have anything to say about any whining. I'm not gonna, because I think the feminine, where we are inclined to do
You're
is be like,
my decision.
Right. I think on our own, what I will do, what it sounds like in my head is, I'll be like, man, we should have salmon. But I don't know. Did we have salmon too recently? But like, maybe people are sick of it. Like, I'm going to think about like 18,000 more scenarios where my experience of asking Jay, it looks like to me like you are just listing 3 things off the top of your head. Is that generally true? Like the
Sometimes.
Things that pop into your head, you just say the things that pop into in there?
Sometimes. And I mean, that's a good question. Sometimes because I just need to make a decision. Like,
yeah.
Because, I mean, in reality, does it matter if we eat salmon or chicken? I mean, as a guy, I just want something to eat. And right. So, but I know for you with the feminine, you need a decision because you don't want to go to the grocery store. Should I get salmon? Should I get these pork chops? Should I get this? I'm taking that away from you because should I get this? Should I get that? That's using your energy.
Yeah.
Now you come home and you cook. But then once we're done eating dinner, it's like, what do we do? A lot of times, if she cooks, I may just put the dishes in the dishwasher or vice versa. I'm not always asking, hey, what should I put the dishes in the dishwasher? Duh. Somebody got to clean.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So it's like certain things, guys, we just need to do. Like if she cooked and went to the grocery store, I may do the dishes or whatever. But it's just filling out your partner and knowing where to go. So once we get done with dinner, we may just go start. Typically, we talk. We very rarely watch TV. We're talking all night from 9 till 1:30 or 2 o'clock, and so. But typically, we're talking about our day. I'm saying, babe, how was your day? That's another thing. One of the things is for the feminine, she needs to process her day, right? And so my job is to let her get all that. Like today, we've been missing each other. You're like, hey, how'd your meeting go?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, how'd your meeting go? And then we like, oh crap, I got to jump on another meeting.
Yeah.
We didn't ever get to talk about it. So one of the things we do at nighttime is we debrief.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, hey, and I'm bringing this up. How was your day, babe? Tell me about your meetings. Tell me about this. And you may just, but I'm there to provide that space to let you
He's
discharge
not on his
that
phone.
energy.
He's not watching the TV. He's not texting people. Like, you just sit and
I think
pay attention
TV
to
is
me.
what messes up relationships. Man.
I do think. I mean, we have a TV in our bedroom, but we are very intentional. Like, we say, okay, are we watching TV now? We're like, let's watch TV, and the other person can say, oh, I still need to talk about X, Y, Z or whatever, because it's true. Now, I have a little bit of, I feel like that women or the feminine's gonna fight me on some of this, and so I see y'all coming. There's this concept that people get really triggered by of the like decision making, where it sounds a bit like old school patriarchy bullshit. Like, women can't make decisions, their brains are tiny. That is 100% not what we're saying.
Absolutely.
And this is where sometimes the feminines are talking out two sides of their mouth, because they're both accounting for that. Oh, I don't need him to tell me what to go get at the store. It's not that hard to go through and pick stuff. Yeah, but then we bitch about the masculines and call it the mental load when they ask us what to get at the store. And don't we say, oh, hey, well, if I had to make you a list, it's just as easy for me to go around and get the stuff? Okay, well, then you can't have it both ways, right? Like, there is a mental load to making all the decisions. So no one is insulting your power, your intelligence. I'm no less of a doctor because Jay makes the call for what dinner we have. Because dinner doesn't really matter. I mean, I need energy to create what I want in life, not for crap. And so I don't need to expend my energy on that kind of stuff when you are built for it. Right. So I just really, let's make sure we're not bringing that old narrative into the stuff, because I see a lot of that and I'm like, why are you're arguing against yourself, sort of. Like, you're negating the mental load aspect. And what we're saying is that stuff is real. Like, the mental load of what school does your kid go to? What grade are they, and do they join the gifted and talented program? Do they skip a grade or not? Do they take the advanced classes? Are they going to be with the kids that are too old and it's not appropriate for them? Like, there's just so many things to answer in life. So it's like, please do not think that like, just because the decision making is shared or that the responsibility doesn't fall to you does not negate that 49% that you still contributed to the decision. It's just that for me, I mean, think about it this way. If I wake up at night, first of all, you don't really wake up at night being like, the kids aren't in karate or something, right? Like, the masculine, first of all, doesn't really do that. That's why I think it's more appropriate that it falls to y'all. The other thing, if I were to wake up at night, if I find myself waking up, the thing that I'm going to do is just take it to you. I'm going to say, hey, I'm worried about their physical health and, what are we going to do for X, Y, Z? And then that's where I'm not going to keep waking up. Right. The responsibility is not falling to me. It's my responsibility to say, I'm having this experience and I'm bringing it to you. Now you get to tell me. And if, sometimes it's, we're not in the season to worry about that now. And man, I can just tell you if I wake up at night and I'm thinking about something and we've said we're not going to worry about that now, it's like a breeze comes through my spirit, because it's like such a weight off to be like, we already determined that that's not on the plate right now. Like, I want it to be on the plate eventually. This is not going to be on the plate right now. And I go back to sleep. That's right. Good. As opposed to all the things that I'm worrying and, I've woken up at 3 a.m. for the last 4 months. none of that is what we want for anybody. Like that shit's miserable.
For real. Yeah, we're very much so partners. Meaning, we I mean, obviously we do the podcast together. We have businesses together. We do everything together, but better. I can't even say it right. Together, because we like each other, you know. And guys, if you're out there listening, like, shit, I don't make decisions. I don't know how to do that. If maybe it's intimidating, just start making decisions. Like
small.
I didn't get good at it because in my previous marriage, I didn't make decisions, and so. But I came to our relationship saying, man, I'm not doing that again. I'm going to start making decisions. Even if it's a wrong decision, it's still a decision that she didn't have to make.
We've had a couple like that, right? Where you're like, oh, that one conversation we had, we should have done that thing at the time because it was a good time for whatever. Like, it's been few and far between, but we have had those. And like, it's so... To me, it's so masculine for you to own any decision, you know, for you to come back and say, oh, maybe we should, you know, I included that in the 49%, but we ended up going with the different call. And for you to see that, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel understood for my contribution to our family and things like that. Like, it is really, really positive for me. And it shows so much insight. Like, I trust the man that you are because it's hard to trust a person that's never wrong and never has any issues. And because you know their ass is lying. 100%.
Girl, say it again.
We know you're lying.
To trust somebody.
Yeah, it's hard to trust somebody. What did I say?
That never has issues.
And never has any problems.
Yeah. Because we all have problems.
We really do. So it's like, why are you faking something so obviously that's a lie? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not a great strategy.
It's societal
She's going to look at you like you're crazy because when we break it down like that, and hopefully you can see why, right? Like, it seems insane because it is. Mm-hmm. It's like, unless you're a robot, I'm just not believing you. So, yeah, it's a really great thing. And actually, I think one last little thing that we can wrap up with is, what does this look like for protection, you know, because classically protecting the woman physically was like what a man should do. But like in modern masculine and feminine dynamics, what does that look like?
I feel like the protection piece, that's not the same as it used to be. Like you said, back in the day, you had to worry about people breaking in your house and things like that. Well, nowadays, everybody has a Ring camera pretty much. So, I mean, ain't too much breaking in the house and getting away. We have ADT, we have locks on the doors. Some, some people have concealed handgun licenses as females. Yeah. So, our role of protection is not like it used to be, but we still do have to protect. What do you have to protect? You got to protect your emotions. Like, can we let you feel safe? Like, can you come to me with a problem without me injecting myself into that problem? Or can I just listen, right? Mm-hmm. We have to protect our home and the environment. Yes, I do make sure that, our yard looks good, our house looks good,
and you
our
make
Ring
sure
cameras
the doors
are working.
Yes,
every night before I go to bed, I go check all the locks. Even if I check them, I just double check them. I don't send my wife to go check the locks. Like, I've heard some guys saying, you make sure the door's locked. Like, that's crazy to me. But making sure making sure the vehicles run right. Like, there's oil changes, there's new tires on the car, there's brakes, things like that. That's a part of protection. Looking out for your kids.
You walk on generally the car side of a sidewalk or anything like that. You open my car door, especially if you do it all the time, but in my mind it would, even if someone doesn't always, if it's on like the side of a busy road, you know how a lot of times you park and the passenger side is on the side of the, like, putting her in the car and getting her out, generally I think solid strategies for protection.
Yeah, you looking out for your precious cargo, fellas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were at a conference and this couple was walking in front of us, and he was walking like maybe 10 feet in front of her, and she like dang near tripped down the escalator. He had no idea, like, you caught her and like helped make sure she was okay. Her husband had no idea that anything had happened to her. Like it's actually wild because it's like, just because we do have more ways of protecting ourselves now does not mean that it's missing, but it's a good point on the only place where, if we're talking about mental, emotional, physical, the only place where I really see the feminine playing the primary role is protection in the spiritual. And we'll talk about that during the feminine one. But I think, to me, while our values life, like prayer and all that, you lead spiritually in terms of like the energy with what I'm picking up, with what I feel like is actually happening underneath the surface. Like the things that are unseen are more my dimension, right? And the things that I bring to you. Now, you still do make the decisions within that space. Like what I do spiritually is run through your decision making matrix, but ultimately I do all the actual work of it.
Agreed.
All right. Anything else that we need to add for this?
No, I think it was good. But
Can I add one?
Of course you can. Go ahead.
I think one thing that the masculine does that isn't talked about enough is interjecting fun and lightheartedness to life. Like,
man, you saying something.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, one of my mentors, one of the guys I follow online, his name's Corey Wayne, but he says you hang out, have fun, and hook up. That's what he always says, because it shouldn't always be serious. Like the feminine likes to have fun. She likes adventure, and so our job, fellas, is to take a lot of stuff off of her so she can just be that fun person that, like, right. Think about when you first start dating. You wouldn't ask her to wash dishes, do laundry.
For real, do your laundry. Like, babe, where's my pants?
You see what I'm saying? All that. And
yeah,
so
fuck that.
Over time, we start turning into another kid. And so you got to keep in mind the words of Corey Wayne. You got to hang out, have fun, and hook up. Like, it's fun topics. One of the things I do in the evening time, we get off from work, I may just turn on Apple Music, just turn some music on, because I have to change the environment. Like, we both just got done working. We both are, like, could be a little stressed out depending on what happened that day. But music is a good thing to just change the energy in the whole house. If you got kids, you can put on like Michael Jackson or Bruno Mars. If your kids aren't there, you can get a little more ratchet. It just depends on what you like. Yeah. But I'm always paying attention to the atmosphere. How is this energy in this house right now? And my job is to change it. Now, if she's going through something, I'm not here to be... he's
not manipulating my
manipulating,
vibe.
Like saying, screw your feelings. Let's just listen to this music. If it's something really, you need to discuss, we'll have that discussion, but then we'll turn the music on. Because I want you to have fun and see me as a source of pleasure, not pain. Meaning I'm not always bringing problems to you. I can't find my belt. I can't find my underwear. I cut my finger. Can you get... That's not what we're talking about, guys. We're talking about certain stuff you can handle.
Right, because you're leading life. Like, I think we get so honed in on random shit, and it's like, you're just leading life, and if you believe that part of life is to have a good time too, then that falls under the responsibility, right? And I think it's so easy for women to get stuck in the widespread nature of what we take on. Like, we're wearing, like, ourselves. Do we look sexy for, are we healthy? Is everybody in our family healthy? Is everybody dressed? Like, do all the kids have clothes that fit? There's a million details that, the oceans are like diffuse and covering. So I think and plus with us working more now as feminines, we have further to go from switching from masculine to feminine. You are in masculine all day, but you stay in masculine. There's nothing to switch to, right? So in terms of taking responsibility of shifting the energy and like taking on the fun and helping to interject that, you are better positioned for it.
Yeah, and something else I just thought of, I know we said we was about to end, but like this past weekend is a good example. Like, we had a really stressful week. And we both have been saying, like, this is a stressful week. This is a stressful week. And guys, again, the presence If you're listening, she's telling you what's going on. So she was saying it was stressful. I was saying it was stressful. My brain was like, all right, we need to just plan a good weekend. So Friday night, I planned a date. We went out. We had a good time. She didn't even know where we were going.
Nope.
I just picked a place. Now, how do you pick the place? I'm glad you asked. There's something called Yelp or Google reviews. And you just figure out what you want to do. And this comes from listening to your partner. She may say, man, I've really been wanting to go to this place to eat this weekend. Right. Well, hint, hint. That's where you go book a reservation for. Sushi. Yeah, I've really been wanting some sushi this week. Well, hint, hint, don't go ask her, hey, babe, you want to go to a sushi place? No, you just go do the reservation, get the sushi place, say, hey, babe, we going to go out this weekend. Don't tell her sushi, just go out this weekend.
Now, if you have a pre-existing relationship and she's going to make you tell her, you can, you know, step it down that this is something we got to in the beginning. But
the reason you don't tell her is because they like adventure. So I may have told you that on maybe a Wednesday. Hey, babe, we're going to go hang out this weekend. If I don't tell her what we're doing from Wednesday until this weekend, she's thinking about how she's going to do her hair, how she's going to do her, what dress she's going to wear, what she's going to dress up like, what her makeup. Yeah. It's a whole thing for her. But if I say, hey, babe, I know you said you want to go out this weekend. What sushi place do you want to go to? That just eliminated all of what I just described.
It's very true. I brought you out outfits too. I'm like, this dress or this dress, these heels or these heels. Is this
like a
cute?
whole fun thing.
Yeah, like, and again, I think some men are like, well, I don't want to make decisions about your dress, but if in her mind she's dressing for you, right, like provide the leadership of what you want to see, because that's what she's asking. She's not asking for your fashion opinion, y'all. Like, I don't know why men don't get this. Like, she's not asking what you think of the dress. It's what's going to make you excited to see her in, so that she is fed and nourished by that vibe from you of like, I am a desirable woman. And so then going on that date is reminding her like she's sexy, she's fun, she can go out, you want her. You have like an 80%, I mean, I'm making up that statistic, but I think it's like an 80% higher chance that you're going to fuck at the end of that date when you get home.
Yeah, for sure. Because
and have a great time.
It's all adventure. You know, like I said, from Wednesday, she's been thinking about the hair. She's thinking about, man, oh, crap, it's Thursday. I need to go get my toes and my nails done. Whatever you do. Y'all know what I'm saying. But the women are thinking all this stuff to get ready for the date. Yeah. Because we want to have sex. We want to fuck, right? But we're not doing the stuff to get to the fucking. We're not setting up the date. What we're like, just imagine what I said. Hey, babe, we're going to go out this weekend. She don't know where we're going, what we're doing. Hey, we have a little scale that we do. Like a 10 is like steakhouse dinner, real nice, swanky type of deal. That's going to be a little black dress.
If he says 10, I'm wearing like a full-on dress with heels and hair, makeup, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Around 6 or 7, I start thinking cute dress or like a jumpsuit or something, but flats, 4 or 5. I'll
tell her the shoes to wear. Yeah. Like if I know we're going to be walking, I don't have her put on heels. Like I know where we're going. So if it's going to be to like I don't know, we have an arboretum here. This is what popped in my brain. That's a lot of walking. So I'm going to say, hey, babe, you know what? This is a type of event where you can just put on some shorts, just look cute, and some tennis shoes. We're going to be doing some walking. That's all I'm telling her. But what her mind, like, what are we going to be doing? Where are we going to be walking to? What are we going to see? How that creates excitement. But when you tell her, hey, babe, we're going to the Arboretum this weekend, it just takes all that away. Now, like we said earlier, do sometimes it miss? Yeah, but for the most part, it hits. And another thing is, look at those reviews. If somewhere it's 2 stars, don't go there. Like, go to 3 or 4 stars, maybe even 5 if they have them. And also stay within your budget. Because, again, your girl know your budget. So if you go into the steakhouse and you don't have money, she's like, babe, why are we doing this? You just messed the date up. Go to Target, go get some sandwiches, go get some chips and some drinks, and go have a picnic in the park. She's going to love that just as much as going to the steak dinner. Why? Because you planned it.
Yes, exactly. It's the thought. Because, if you really think about like what women do to get ready for a date versus what a man does, a man generally takes a shower, puts on clothes he has, and goes on a date, yes? Like you might wash your car, you might put gas in it or something, but like you might get a haircut.
Yeah, I'm always get a haircut.
Yeah, so that's cool. But if you think about what a feminine does in terms of like, I mean, if I'm going to determine when I'm going to wash my hair, that's like a 3-day determination. I try if I'm like gonna have my hair done for Friday, I'm also thinking back what's happening on Tuesday and Wednesday. Like that's how far back our thinking goes on it. And if it's a nice thing, you want to get your nails and hair done or whatever, those are all appointments. If you need to have an outfit that you don't already have, and generally speaking, if you're going on stuff, you're gonna get that. So then to do all of that, plus look at all the Yelp reviews, figure out the driving directions, figure out where we have to park. There is no mystery in my mind. Like I don't understand why men would ask why they're not getting any after that. That's
all. Talking to other men who not getting any. That's why.
There is so much work, and then you're surprised that at the end she's tired.
Right.
She started that date planning Tuesday, did it all, and then like so. I think that's where understand if it seems like it totally doesn't make sense why she needs this. Have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because more than likely there might be a misunderstanding of what you're like, oh, it's easy. You just get dressed.
I mean, you said it earlier. You have to plan, guys. That's the only way I know how to say it. Because you mentioned it earlier. I'm going to go get the gas in the car. Yeah. If there's a valet, I'm going to go get cash. Because I don't know why some of them still take cash. But I'm going to go make sure I got the cash for the valet. Gas in the car. Me personally, I like to pull up in the valet in a clean car, so I'm gonna go to the car wash, get my wheels shined up. Because why? We stepping out. She got her little dress. I want us to look good.
Yeah.
Right? I'm looking good. She looking good. So that's all part of it, versus pulling up in a dirty ass car, shit all in the floor. She got her nice new shoes on. It's what is this? Like, is you preparing this? Is her knowing that you didn't just throw some shit together?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so she understands, okay, because what happens is when you got to go get the money from the ATM, and now I do this sometime if we've been working all day, but for the most part, I don't. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah, you really don't. I don't see it.
If you're on the way to the date, you're like, hang on, let me run in here and get some money from the ATM. Hang on, I forgot this. Now you messing up the vibe. This ain't hanging out, having fun, and hooking up. Mm-hmm. You running errands.
And not only that, but you always got to remember the feminine mind is gonna multitask. So nothing is ever just on the surface for the most part with the feminine. It's not just a date.
It's true.
It is an example of, can you take charge of a situation and execute successfully? Because honestly, when someone runs the risk of like impregnating you and you're on the hook forever for raising his children, I think that's why we were built to have that kind of questioning and that kind of longevity thinking. We're always thinking long term. It's not just a date. So when men are like, why are you upset? It's just a date. You got to be careful with that line of thinking. That's just not how the feminine thinks. And if you keep interjecting that idea, she will be off on another whole location and you will have no idea. Like, you won't be able to track her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an experience for the feminine. Like, the like we talked about, the getting ready for the day, getting the hair done, getting the nails done. Finally, the day is here. She lays out the dresses. She lays out the shoes. Which dress looks better? Fellas, don't ever say, I don't care which one. I used to do this shit. That's not good. Because, again, you're not giving her your masculine decision making. I always say, ooh, I really like that red one with those red shoes. I'm going to give her a definite decision. Now, you pick whichever one you want, but this is the one I want to see you in. And what happens typically is you like, okay, this what do you want to see me in? I'm putting this one on. And
if I already know, I'm not going to ask.
Yeah.
You know.
But you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm just trying to talk to the guys out here about how decision making is what this is about. Like, a lot of times you'll say, hey, which shoes look better? I used to say, man, I don't care whichever ones you want, which we really don't. But if you understand your role as a masculine, I'm looking at the one that make the toes look pretty. And, oh, yeah, wear those ones. Those, yeah, I like you in those. And that again, she's doing it for you. So when you're giving her your input, she like, okay, I'm looking good for my baby. Now we moving down the road to
It's
fucking.
like your investment in
We just like to say fucking. I don't know
sausage
why.
getting made. Yeah, I know. I mean, we actually, romantically have
Sex
that.
and, I know we just say fucking. We just talk like that.
Yeah, we do. But yeah, I mean, that's not from a negative place.
No,
I think that this is it's all a really great reminder on what the actual goal is, right? Like it's to have everybody have their needs met in a way that aligns with what feels the best to them. So like, all these considerations really track back to you're just trying to love them in the best way that you can, and you also receive that back. It makes it completely reciprocal. And I'm glad we ended up talking about the date stuff and all of that, because it does really highlight that the roles and all that decision making is not ever rooted in like these like rules that you have to stick to and from a negative place. They're always recommendations done because it matches to the natural flow of how we see things, like how the feminine's gonna respond the best. That's where the spirit of this all comes from. And it's a lot more healthy than, I think, creating some sort of artificial rules and then we have to change them when society changes and all sorts of crap.
Yep. So I feel like this was a good episode. We talked about stuff that wasn't on our notes, stuff that was on our notes, but it was good. So, and I feel like the dating needs to go deeper. Because that's a big thing. I mean, a lot of times we're in a relationship for an extended period of time, and the dating, you get kids and you just forget about the dating. Yeah. But the dating is paramount in a relationship because that's how those two people come together.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And so.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
We want to come together. What was you going to say?
I was just going to say, I think that it had popped into my head earlier and then we got off topic. I just wanted to remind people any sort of hang-ups where if you are a masculine listening that you have, or if you're a feminine and your partner has, you just really, a lot of the difficulties lie in not feeling great about yourself. That's really what it comes down to. Because like making the calls, it's like, well, what if I don't make the right call? What if I don't choose the right place? What if we have to figure out a new thing or whatever? Really the spirit of all that, like if you take it down past those questions, it's really like, is it going to be okay? Right? Am I going to be okay? Do I have what it takes for it to all be okay? Right? It's just it's an insecurity. And so that's where, this is what Jay does for a living, is the masculine leadership coaching, is that anything like that can be worked on. It is really just based off experiences that our brain learned to ask those questions. But it's like any habit. You can rewire that habit so that your thoughts are actually more uplifting to you, more fulfilling to your real life. Like, you don't have to stay stuck where you are. You really can change. But, all this stuff that people say about change isn't generally true. But the things that I will say is that change has to be done by the person. Like, you have to want to change. And then you need to have the actual resources. People make it a mystery, and it's not. There's an actual there's a steps to it and a way of approaching this stuff, which is what you do. So if you are in that category, or your man is in that category, or your masculine would be a better way to say is in that category, we definitely invite you to check out the show notes, because that's where you can see the link to hop on Jay's schedule and have a conversation to learn more about what overcoming this kind of stuff looks like, because it can seem so daunting and scary. And we promise you, and you can talk to other people too, it does not have to be that way. There really is a process. And once you start walking that path, it really is just putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, and what it does, it just helps you step into a more masculine frame in your home and in your relationship, more masculine frame in your job / business. And we need this masculinity in the community, right? Yes. we need leadership right now. All the craziness going on is just because nobody wants to lead. Nobody wants to ruffle feathers. Like we ruffle feathers with this. They're like, well, what about all the other people? I don't know, but I just know this femininity and masculinity is so needed right now, and we're gonna bring it to you. So keep giving us ideas. Give us comments, because we want to keep getting better and better. Because we want to put out good relationship material. Like there's enough shit on what you ain't supposed to do, but we want to put out stuff that you can implement, be proud of. And again, guys, I want to let you know, like don't feel like you have to get all this stuff. I'm still learning. Just make a decision, and the more decisions you can take off of her, the more she can love on you at the end of the day and give you what you want. So
yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. Join us next time. Thanks for listening to the Rocks and Oceans podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend that could use this information. Please also subscribe and leave us a review so that more people can find this work. You can also find us over at YouTube and TikTok at Rocks and Oceans Podcast. Let's build a happier and more powerful world together.